Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Facebook Live. I am Shalini Joshi Amdagni, and this is my weekly Facebook Live session. If we haven't met before, I'm an international physical and emotional pain relief expert. So what I do is I help people who are feeling stuck in pain feel relief quickly so that they can get on with their lives feeling peace and clarity. And I do these weekly Facebook Lives every Thursday at 11 o'clock. So if you're joining me live, hi Neera Didi, hi Niharika. So nice to have you here live. It's always fun. And welcome to you. If you're watching on replay, do come in and say hello. It's good to know that you were watching and if you got something out of it. So our topic today is data quality management for success. I know it sounds very technical and you must be thinking, what is pain relief and peace and clarity? What does that have to do with data management? And so, all my topics sort of come from my interactions and my conversations. And in the past few weeks, actually, let's say a month, my kids are getting ready to go to university, and we had a few friends' kids who just came back for their Christmas and New Year vacations from university. So there's been a lot of discussions with them, interactions with them, because my son heads to university in September this year. And as we were talking, there was a lot of talk about a lot of the kids are doing data management, data analysis, data, I don't know. It's all about data, right? And it's economics and statistics, and economics is something my son is doing, and he may be, getting into computer science. So that's the basis of this topic. And I thought, how we generally tend to associate data management and data analysis and data analytics only to the professional, to the scientists, to the researchers, right? But actually, and in reality, data is what runs our personal life too, right? So analyzing that data and managing that data is crucial to our personal success, just as data is, important to companies. A lot of companies are, data is like gold, right? They can do so much with the data that they have, and they can use it for success. So that's where this topic is coming from. And so what I'm going to be doing is here's what's coming up. So our data-driven world is what I'm going to be talking about, and then what's in your database, right? The data lifecycle, because there is something called the data lifecycle in the technology world. So I came up with my own data lifecycle, and managing data for success, and 3 benefits of data quality management. Okay, it's all about data. And the truth is, we do live in a data-driven world, especially these times, right? I mean, you can relate to it because every time you go on Google, which is the whole planet, like everybody who has a computer or has internet is Googling. And, everything you search, research, the YouTube that you go to, or the Facebook that that we're using, the companies are collecting every piece of data about us, right? And they're storing it, and then they are going to analyze it and research it, and then managements are the success of how do you manage data? And so we see this in our everyday life, right? I'll be Googling, looking at some every morning, when I do my tapping and clearing, I look at some inspirational YouTube videos, and sometimes I get all this new stuff which is very similar, right? But I didn't Google it, I didn't YouTube search it, but the stored data about what kind of stuff I'm Googling, searching, or interested in shows up in my feed. And I'm sure you've seen it, whether it's your Facebook, the side ads or what's showing up in your feed is a result of the data that Facebook, Google, and all the, online stuff, the work that we're doing, all the experience that we're having online. And the same is true for your personal data. So everything that is stored in your database is showing up in your feed, in your life experiences, in your experiences in your relationships, in your marriage, in your work, in the kind of success that you have. It's really the same thing. And so that's what we're looking at today. And number 2 question is, what is in your database, right? So what's in your database? And the truth is that everything that you've ever experienced from the time you were in your mom's womb till till wherever you are today, all that information, all those experiences are stored in your database. Everything. It's just like Google. Every time you Google something, it gets stored. So everything you've ever seen, heard through the 5 senses is stored in your database. And that's what your database looks like. So here's my little card, like what's in your database, right? Everything. So if you Google it right now and see what comes up when you Google in your personal database, what comes up about money, what comes up for you, and what comes up for me, and what comes up for anybody else who's watching this right now is not the same thing, right? We all have data about, very specific data about money. We have very specific data about relationships. So if you're Googling right now and saying, hey, what's in my database? Just Google the topics, just like you Google, to get the information in the database online, right? If you Google travel, if you Google children, right? Whatever topics are relevant to you, and these are some topics that are relevant to all of us, right? Relationships, eating, health. So what's in your database? What is in your database is you can Google it, right? And it will come up, right? It will come up, and you'll be able to see what's lying there. And they're not just like data about school children, but there also are beliefs, our opinions, what I think about money is different from what you feel about money, is different from what others think, right? So it's not just the topics, but also our beliefs, our opinions, our religious beliefs that impact all these topics. So it's a very complex system that is in our database, right? Hi, Kay, nice to see you here. And so here's what I came up with, the data lifecycle. I Googled stuff, right? And I was Googling data management, and they actually have something called the data lifecycle. I said, this is interesting. And I thought, we too have a data lifecycle, and this is what I think it might look like. It's just made up. Okay, so number 1 is you acquire data. Like I said, every experience that you've ever had in your life, every conversation, every interaction in your childhood, with your parents, with your siblings, with your friends at school, as a teenager, as an adult, in your job, in your career, when you go outside on social media. So you acquire data through your 5 senses, right? In all your experiences and interactions, and that data then gets stored, it gets recorded just like in Google, and it gets stored in your hard drive, right? And then you act based on that data, right? Based on, what do you think about food? What kind of food am I going to have? What's my data about food? This is good, this is bad. So we take actions and we act. in our relationships. What do we believe in our relationships? All that gets stored. Usually, they say is by the time between 0 to 6, this is, kind of like your programming is set. And then when you're operating after that, it's just based on this data. And what happens is, so you act and then you have these experiences, right? So you're acting according to the stored data, then you have results which are maybe similar to what you've already experienced, right? And so you get results and experience. For example, if I have a data about somebody that I really don't like, I had a really negative interaction, and so that gets stored in my system. And then when I meet this person again, I have this data about them. So that my behavior is impacted because of this data. And then I have similar experiences, right? And some of us analyze and monitor these experiences. Actually, all of us analyze and monitor, and we see, okay, it's the same thing again. This person is like that. I'm sure of it, right? And then back goes the cycle. So this is so we have a life cycle of the data. And the thing is that sometimes we are conscious about it. Sometimes we're not conscious about it. You acquire data. Even when I'm sitting here, I know subliminally, right, what's going on. So you acquire the data, and then whether you're paying conscious attention to it or not, it's recorded in your system, everything, right? Everything you've ever experienced, good, bad, ugly, trauma, is recorded. And you act and operate in your life based on those recorded beliefs, beliefs, opinions, experiences, and then the results you get are similar, right? Or more intensified, but very similar results, right? And then you kind of harden your beliefs about it. You analyze it, and you kind of solidify, because you've had the same experience, and then you solidify that experience, and then it on and on goes the cycle. So here's, I was going to, where is it? So the thing is that so when we're at the start of the new year, right, and we want to create new in our life, we want to create new changes, new relationship behaviors, new patterns, new goals. But if we have a data cycle that looks like this, right, then we end up getting the same results, right? Because people say, okay, I'm going to change the way, I'm going to change my exercise habits. I'm going to change my relationship behaviors, the way I interact. I want to change this and I want to change that. But how, right? How are you going to do it? Because without even you being aware, your data is controlling your life. So how can you suddenly decide to, like, I'm going to change my thinking, I'm going to change my behavior, I'm going to change my habits? Because you are so, entrenched. It's been such a strong pattern that how do you change that pattern, right? So here are some questions for managing the data, right? Because why is it important to manage the data? Because if it's the same stuff over and over again, the same cycle, then we're not getting different results, right? So we need to manage the data. Like something else needs to happen here. I don't know if I have a pen here. Here it is. So something else needs to happen here, between here and here. And what I feel is you gotta delete stuff here before you carry on with the cycle, right? Because what happens is the data that's stored, right? The data that's stored, it's stored in your conscious and subconscious mind. And the conscious mind is just 10% of your brain. and its life is, the attention is limited. So what it can store is very limited. You know what your attention span is, right? 30 seconds, 7 seconds. I mean, there's a lot of research and on this, but we have very short attention span, and that is the conscious mind. But the subconscious mind is long-term, right? And it's unlimited. And it has information about all these things that I was sharing with you, right? Elementary school, health, relationships, money, children, travel, spouse, all kinds of data, fruits, vegetables, countries, right? Religions, I mean, just about anything. And that data can be helpful, it can be unhelpful, it can be outdated, it can be obsolete, it can be damaging, it can be empowering, it can be inspiring. But when we analyze and monitor data, if we are not going to delete the obsolete, the unhelpful, the outdated data, then it's still stored, right? It's still stored in our system, and we keep recycling the same data over and over. So once we understand that, we have collected a lot of data in our as we journey through life, and there may be stuff that is unhelpful, outdated, obsolete. Are we actually, just like in your computer, you go delete, 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 trash, recycle bin, right? Are we doing that for the personal data that we've been collecting all through our life, right? So that's, I believe, a key thing that needs to happen for some change to come about, right? So if you want to change your relationship, if you want to change your something in your work life, in your married life, then you got to analyze stuff over here, and then you got to delete stuff that's not helpful, that's disempowering. And so here are some questions that can help you manage that data, right? And how do you know what do I delete? So you have to ask yourself, where am I not seeing results? Is it in the area of health, in the area of money, in the area of relationships, in the area of yourself, what you believe about yourself? Maybe it's about, even random things like travel. I have clients who say, I always want to travel, but I never get to travel because I never have enough money. And so where in your life are you not seeing results? Right? Where in your life are you not seeing results? Another question is, what do I believe about this area of my life where I'm not seeing results? It could be all these areas that I've been talking about, right? Family, yourself, right? I'm not seeing results in my money. So what area are you not seeing results? That will give you information about what's in your data bank, right? Is this data supporting me? Is it depleting me? Is it supporting me? Is it energizing me, right? Is this data relevant today? Is this, I remember when I was a kid, I've shared this story before, and I was in a boarding school, and every weekend, so I was about from 6 to 15, I was in a boarding school. And, so we had very limited money, and the house lady, what do we call them? We were in different houses, red house, blue house. So I was in, I think, yellow house, and we had a teacher who was responsible for that house. And every weekend we would go up to her and withdraw money, right? We would withdraw money, and she would say, how much do you want today, right? For the weekend, to spend on the weekend. And I would look at the list, and, it was interesting that every time I took out money, she would cross out what was the balance and then write the new balance. So it was always decreasing, right? And so when I was an adult, I had this thing, which I don't even know how I acquired that data, right? But it said, money always becomes less. Money never increases. It's always whatever you have, it just becomes less and less and less. And that's something so weird, like, how did I get this? But it was an experience from the past when I was a child. That was my first experience with managing money, right? I had limited amount, and then I had to withdraw some, and by the end it was like a trickle. And then, that was my experience when I was working and earning money. It always became less. It never became more. And then I waited for the next salary, and then it was less and less and less and less and less. So that was my experience with money. So is that a helpful experience? No. Is that really true that money only becomes less? No. It was outdated, obsolete, not relevant to my today experience, right? It wasn't relevant today, because today I didn't rely on my parents putting in a little bit in my bank, and that's the amount that I used until it finished, right? So you can make more money. But that was my data in my subconscious mind about money, right? And we pick up information without even realizing it. I mean, I didn't want to store that data, but it was there. So is this data relevant today? And then also, does this empower me or disempower me? So these are some questions. I'm sure there's a lot other ways. I just thought about these questions that you can ask yourself to know, is the data that I have about money, about health, about relationships, is it supporting me? Is it really relevant today? Maybe it was relevant with your ex-spouse. Maybe it was really relevant in your previous relationship. But if that data is not supporting, and if that belief is not supporting, if those opinions are not supporting you, you've got to delete them, right? You got to delete those. You got to add this delete button into this life cycle and let it go, let it go, let it go, right? And that's how you're going to experience something different. Otherwise, the life cycle will just keep on and on and on. And that's not great data management. That's just recycling of the data, right? And so to be effective in your life, to be successful in health and in money and relationships, you want to be aware of where are things not working, because your behavior, your actions today are a result of what's in your database. And unless you become aware of it by asking yourself these questions, then you go in the same cycle, and I'm not getting results in my health, in my money, in my relationships, in my travel experiences, or whatever is important to you, right? So 3 benefits of data quality management is, obviously, when you are aware through those questions what's not serving you, what's not helpful, what's outdated, you get clarity, right? You get absolutely clear about what you want in your database and what you want to delete from your database, right? And then you get control, because when you are just storing without thinking, when you're storing all kinds of data consciously, subconsciously, subliminally, then there is no control, right? There's too much. You have overwhelm, you feel anxious, you feel doubt, you feel worry, you feel fear, because there's so much data that is unnecessary that's in there. So you get clarity, you get control, because now you are monitoring and deleting. And so you have control over what's sort of, what are you holding on to? What are the positive, empowering, supporting beliefs that you're holding on to? Because that data is going to create competence. Because now you have good stuff that's stored. You have empowering stuff that supports your dreams, your wishes, your goals, right? So once you manage your data, just like all the companies really investing a lot in data management and data analysis, right? Why? For clarity, control, and competence. And the same is for our personal data management as well. So apart from all the other benefits of peace, feeling more peaceful, feeling more fulfilled in our goals and our dreams, that is why I believe there are like a gazillion benefits to data management, but these are some of the benefits that you will begin to experience once you manage your data. So the question for you is, what is in your database? So have a think about what's in your database, and are you in control of the data, or is the data controlling you? Okay, that's something maybe if you want to play along, you want to reflect on, is what kind of stuff do I have in my database about money, about relationships, about all the things that are important to you, right? And you know that you've got some unhelpful stuff if you ask yourself those questions that I was just sharing, right? Is it outdated? Is it relevant? Is it supportive? And so, are you in control of your data, or is your data controlling you? Now, I know you may have questions about how do I delete the data, right? How do I delete all this data okay, so I'm going to look into the data that I have about different areas of my life. I'm going to see if it's helpful, if it's not helpful, if it's limiting, but how do I delete it? So we can't get into that in this Facebook Live, but you can go to my YouTube channel, EFT with Shalini, and I have tons of videos on how you can delete and release and let go of limiting beliefs, of angers, of things that you're holding on to that are not helpful, that are sabotaging your success. And you just go there, EFT with Shalini, and tap along with those videos, because EFT, emotional freedom techniques, is a clearing technique. It helps you delete and let go from the root, clearing it, uprooting it, letting it go. So EFT is emotional freedom techniques, and it's a clearing technique that I've used, that like millions of people use. I was just sharing about this technique on stage with Dr. Joe Vitale from The Secret, and the event was Missing Secrets to Success. And the missing secret is clearing limiting beliefs. And EFT is a wonderful tool, easy to do anytime, anywhere, and you can use it to clear limiting beliefs, clear thoughts, feelings, patterns that are not serving you. So that's something you can look up. I'll put a link up there as well. And of course, you can visit my website, EFTthailand.com. And if you go to the beginners section or something like that, then I lead you through the basics of EFT tapping. So, I hope this was helpful. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Joyita. Oh, nice to have you join, Joyita. I don't know what time it is in Canada. So nice to have you here. I hope this was helpful. It is true that our lives are data driven, and how we manage and deal with the data that is running our lives, right, is key to success. And so I hope you got something out of this session. I look forward to seeing you in my next Facebook Live with whatever I get inspired to speak about and share with you. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.